Reflecting and looking back on my business when I started versus when I stepped out of the day-to-day real estate.
Mhm.
Just this last week, I've just creating new things. I'm like, it's really easy. And so I'm going to ask you this before I finish up what I'm saying, Crystal. When
Mhm.
you're in the receiving end of phone calls, people are buying Agent Locator, they're buying leads, they're spending money on the concept that it's going to increase their business, increase their clients, increase their sales, and make them money.
Mhm. Mhm.
What do you hear on the receiving end? What's the common denominator that you always hear when people are calling Agent Locator after they've been using or bought Agent Locator?
Um, Sometimes it'll be the lead counts are low. That could be market, that could be campaign related. We get often, these leads, no one's doing anything. They're all just looking. That's a common one as well. Like, they're all just tire kickers, that sort of thing. Um, but aside from that, those are generally the most common complaints. Like I can't get anyone off the fence. They're all just kind of sitting on the fence. I don't want to be, coming across. I feel like what is too much follow up, right, with somebody. So trying to figure out, I guess, a logical follow up routine. Essentially, we do provide them, but they also sometimes they will feel like I feel like I'm following up too much, right? They don't want to become that what comes across
Yeah.
as being pushy. But those are generally what we're encountering for the most part, which is standard any time of the year. It's just the most common feedback that we're getting, and a lot of that, as you and I both know, just comes down to how we're looking at our system and how we're looking at the leads.
Yeah, 100%. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I wanted to hear what you had to say, because there's always a common denominator, and I don't find it being just a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, this last week, I've really been able in launching something brand new to me. I really went through that. How do I want to say it? It was almost like that. It was a fear. It was like, so as badly as we want so many transactions in a year, as badly as we want to make X amount of dollars in a year, we set the goals, we create the intentions, we buy all the right tools, we may even have a strategy plan.
Mm-hmm.
Just doesn't seem like something is going in the right direction. Something's missing, or something's happening, or something isn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
And reflecting back onto my past and my business endeavors, I was really able to grab a hold of, okay, I'm going to own this feeling that doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to kind of dig a little bit deeper as to why why am I reacting the way I'm reacting? Because I'll tell you what happens. I've caught myself. I don't know jack squat about Facebook advertising, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in there like trying to perfect how to launch an ad. Well,
Yeah.
you kind of overthink it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All it's doing for me is stalling the launch.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
we really truly give ourselves permission to fail and we're not afraid, why are we complaining about it? Why are we holding off on it? Why do we continue to try to perfect it? Why all of this stuff? And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm like, oh my God, I was really great at creating the excuses. I
Yeah.
was really, really good at it. And I would blame my market. I would blame the market. Like, oh, well, nobody's buying right now, or interest rates, or I'm not in the right area. My price point's too low.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can't even find an agent to work for me because I don't live in an area where people have the right mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then you just kind of give up on that dream. And I'm like sitting here going, well, wait a minute, like make lemonade, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is it the problem that we can create a solution to, or is it an excuse?
Mm-hmm.
How do we dig in and define the difference? I'll tell you why it's really, really, really hard to define an excuse, because no one wants to take accountability for running away from something or creating the distractions to not do something. And I'm speaking from my own successes here, because I've realized my own fears in my excuses and my distractions self-sabotaging my businesses, because the thrill is in the creation. The thrill is in building the strategy, right? It's like, okay, we're coming into 2024 and I'm going to get really good at organizing my dashboard and calling my leads. And it feels good to get excited about what's to come.
Mm-hmm.
Then when we sit down and we open the dashboard, then the thoughts start to come. Well, nobody's buying. None of these people, like, I haven't talked to anybody.
Yeah.
They're all bad phone numbers. And 2 weeks ago on our call, remember, what was his first thing?
Yeah.
It was, they were all bad phone numbers.
Yeah. All bad phone numbers. Yeah.
I mean, we got that on recording.
Yeah.
And I even asked him all of them, and he even confirmed. I said, all right, how many phone calls did I make 2 weeks ago?
I think like 2, maybe 3.
And how many people answered the phone?
All of them.
And I'm like, so even like my 30-40% rule was like debunked, because everybody answered the phone. But it's easier to say,
no one answers,
because it gives us a reason. We're justified on why we don't need to do something. And I'd rather blame you at Agent Locator, because it's not me. I'm doing everything right. Like, I'm cool, man.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting whenever we really do take a snapshot and look at ourselves and say, okay, what is going on here? Because here's the thing. If you open up your multi-list and you look at the amount of homes sold in the last 30 days, don't tell me nobody's moving. People are moving.
Yes.
You just need to find the marriage between you giving the service and the person that's buying the house. That is where the problem is. There's a disconnection in the middle of your service and their purchase power. You've got to make that marriage and find those people. And I can tell you this, if you're sitting there looking at your dashboard, making the excuse that they're all bad phone numbers, or nobody's buying, or nobody's responding, or nobody's answering the phone, or nobody's communicating, you're right, nobody's buying.
Yeah.
Those are our results.
Oh, absolutely.
So are we going to continue to make the excuses, or are we going to do something about it and getting comfortable being uncomfortable? What risk are you willing to take to kind of debunk your own myth? And if anybody's on today that wants to go, hey, look at my dashboard, I would love to make 2 calls and see what we can get.
Yeah. Right. I get a lot too, where you'll see that the calls aren't made because they rely solely on the SMS. And so they'll only call people that reply to the SMS because they feel like those are the only people that actually want to talk to me. Right. So
again, limiting the potential, right? Well, and it's very easy because we look at our own selves, right? Like, I hate when telemarketers call me. It's so annoying. And we don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
And when you know that you have a message that people need to hear, it really changes the game. Because when you know that you hold that secret power to transform somebody's life, or you hold that secret power to remove someone's pain, or you have that secret power to make things smoother in the transition for somebody, you want to shout it from the rooftops. And just looking at, you go and you have a great experience somewhere, like, you can't wait to call somebody and say, oh my God, you got to go there. Like, this was the best, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you get excited about sharing goodness with other people. So we have to look at what we have to give to other people to help them through their experience rather than bothering them or feeling bad.
Mhm.
But it's being able to see it for yourself and
Mhm.
know that, okay, and I'm going to take you back to the beginning. What made you get your real estate license in the first place? And most of the agents that I talk to, when I ask that question, most of them get into real estate because of a bad experience,
Mhm.
because they tried to buy a house and they had a bad experience with an agent. They tried to sell their house and they had a bad experience with the agent. Family member had a bad experience with an agent. So, don't you want to save your community from a bad experience because that's what got you into real estate?
Mhm.
So, if you're looking at your opportunities from that perspective, it really truly can change the game.
Yeah.
And what is your value proposition? What are you bringing to the table that the other agents in your market aren't bringing?
Mhm.
And how do you know? How can you look? How can you define the difference?
Yeah.
It's knowing your market. It's
Mhm.
getting out there, meeting the agents. It's knowing the agents. It's I interviewed all my agents. Like I would always do my story. Like, hey, what do you think? Like, what do you think's going on with the market? What are you seeing with your listings? What are you seeing with your buyers?
Yeah.
Find out what they're complaining about. Ha ha ha.
Mhm.
Gives you it truly
Right?
gives you a heads up, and
It
it's
does.
like it opens your eyes to say, oh shoot, I'm the same. Like I have the same problems.
Yeah. I find too, with the follow-ups, and this is why when I talk to people, I stress so much on that initial conversation that you're having, that it's the foundation of your relationship. So when you have the ability to talk, or, find a reason or a topic to talk about or relate to outside of the purpose of your call, that not only brings the barriers down, but it's giving you information to connect with that individual a little bit further. So when you are following up with them, it doesn't even have to be related to their search so much. It's just like stopping in. Hey, how are you? It's like calling an old friend, just making sure things are good. How are the kids? Last time you were saying you were doing this. How'd that go? And then you're not going to be feeling as though you're just bothering somebody, right? They're not going to be, and the leads are actually not going to avoid your calls as often because it's a pleasant conversation. They know that you're there and you're essentially building that relationship with them, and they're actually happy to talk to you.
When it comes back to, they don't care how much you know, they care how much you care.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's truly what it always comes back to, is make it about them, not you. And there is a thing, it's a real thing. It's called imposter syndrome, where
Mm-hmm.
you truly have a fear of talking to other people because you don't feel that you are carrying what you really want to be bringing to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are real estate agents, we are salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
But removing yourself from that title and making it about what you want to bring to the table and not what the title is. We
Yeah.
don't have to sit behind being that salesperson pushing something, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody has a place of their time. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's timing is different. There's nothing we can make anybody do outside of what their timeline says. Now, can we help to delegate in the process thoughts that they're thinking about why they may be waiting or why they may not want to move right now? But
Mm-hmm.
that's up to us to be asking those right questions, to be able to say, okay, I don't want to move right now because interest rates are too high. Okay, let's just talk about interest rates for a minute. How much are you paying a month? How much are you willing to pay a month? Do you have some room? Well, if you found something at that exact number per month, if you say you want to spend $2,500 a month in a mortgage payment, and I found the exact perfect home at $2,500 a month, does that interest rate really make a difference to you?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it does, they don't want to move too bad. It's kind of like even when you're going out to buy a car,
Mm-hmm.
right? that's the game when you buy a car. It's like, well, how much do you want to spend a month? And
Yeah,
they'll
yeah,
get you to
it's
that payment no matter what.
yeah, yeah. You're paying the same price for that car regardless.
It may be 50 years versus like 15 years, but
Yeah,
you're gonna be
yeah,
paying, right?
yeah,
We're gonna
yeah.
give you the payment you want per month.
All those, yeah. Yep, exactly. And that's usually what we, big ticket items, we're not focusing on those interest rates as much. We're just focusing on how much is this going to cost me every single month, right? And they could be charging you 19% interest, but as long as you can afford that payment, you don't care.
Yep. I see a question. How do we handle unsubscribers who have a house to sell and are looking? Sherry, are you able to by chance come live? I would love to talk to you a little bit more about this.
We can just allow you to talk, Sherry, if you want.
I'm assuming they just unsubscribed from emails, but I'm wondering how you know they have a house to sell. Have you had a conversation with them?
Questionnaire. It's so on the website they register.
Oh, there.
They
I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
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 Okay, perfect. Let me see. I might be able to go live.
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh, here you are.
Your
Am I
camera
here?
just went.
Hi,
Yeah, you're here.
Okay, let me close this one.
wish you
Yeah,
could
I
rock my
was
hairstyle.
talking to them, and I've lost you now.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, so I was talking to them, and then it was kind of a callback situation. They did find me through AgentLocator. They did the questionnaire. I prompted everything, and then I looked today or yesterday, and they've just unsubscribed. And of course, my heart sank because it was such a solid lead. So I'm not sure what the situation was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you're assuming in your mind what the situation was because your heart sank, right?
Well, we weren't far enough in for them to be inundated in their mind with emails. There was a few phone calls where it went to answering service, or it was 4 rings, and I stop, I go to the next one.
Mhm.
So it's like, are they really not ready? And they were just presenting the concept to me. They were ready. Like, how do we deal with the psychology of this? I don't want to archive it.
Mhm.
But I also don't want to ride above their wishes of unsubscribing, because I don't want to piss them off.
Because only they know the story.
That's right.
And sometimes people accidentally unsubscribe and they don't realize maybe they wanted to unsubscribe from something else and it unsubscribed from everything. But we're really good at creating our own stories and sabotaging it. And that's really what it is. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to read the unsubscribe. I don't want to reach out to them. But reality, oh my gosh, hey, I just wanted to check in and see how things are going.
See, I'll do that. I have no problem doing that. I never thought of that.
Yeah,
I never thought to think that maybe they just screwed
Get the
up.
real story, Sharon. Get the real story and stop making it up, right? Because it's like maybe they had a death in a family, maybe someone lost their job. I mean, we never know what's going on with people and what's happened. But man, we lose more opportunities because we overthink things and then we feel bad.
Yeah.
Without knowing the real story. And honestly, we just need to get over that. And it's easy. I mean, I'm sitting here saying, oh yeah, go do it. But I'm not saying it's not easy, but can you see how you can kind of just self-sabotage that and create your own story and just kind of let it go because you feel bad?
Oh no, I won't let it go. That's why I'm online here talking to you, because you're the star, right? So it was just, what angle do I go? I couldn't get this.
Worry about them. Genuinely call them and check in. Say, hey, how long has it been since you talked to them, Sherry?
Oh God, only a couple days.
Yeah. I would, and so, all right, I'm going to back up a little bit and we're going to rewind to the last conversation, because in my trainings, I always encourage the conversations to end with, how often would you like me to check in on you? And how would you like me to check in on you?
That's a good one. Yeah.
Did you talk to them about the next step and expectations on that last one?
No, we didn't get that far. Okay. Like I said, I've only been on AgentLocator a couple weeks.
Okay.
So.
And look at you go.
Yeah. So it's just, okay, this is something new I haven't come across yet. I don't want to attack it. until I've spoken to you or Crystal to understand the psychology so that I don't jeopardize the lead.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing like I look at unsubscribe as maybe they want to change emails. Maybe they just had too much coming into one email. You know, it's like we never know why people do what they do. And I've had numerous people. I'm like, well, they're like, send me an email, and I'm like, well, I can't because you unsubscribed. And they're like, what? And then
Mhm.
then in different platforms, you have to go through a whole process to get them resubscribed again because then they have to verify it.
Right, right.
But yeah, I don't even know. It would depend on how the conversation went as far as if because did you set them up on a search or was the search just kind of automated for them?
No, that I believe I set them up on it.
Okay.
I mean, I've loaded so many leads and I'm already working 3 pages. It's
Okay.
just, I remember that questionnaire. They had a house to sell, everything, they just seemed very proactive.
Okay.
So I
Yeah,
never
I'm
thought that maybe
encouraged.
they just
The most
accidentally unsubscribed. I just never thought of that.
and the most important piece to overcome your own objections when it comes to people doing weird things
Yeah,
is really the ultimate goal out of that first conversation is to find out where they are in the process and expectations. Because, you know, if they have a home to sell, what is your ultimate time frame? When would you like to be in a new home? Because
yeah,
there's
I
a
get all that.
difference, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, I get all
how
that.
would you like me to follow up with you?
That's
Would
a
you
good
like,
one.
you
Yeah.
know, it's like, do you want me to follow up in a couple of days, in a couple of weeks, in a couple of months? What can I
Mhm,
do for you?
mhm.
And let them tell you. And
Yeah,
then it takes all the weirdness out of it.
yeah,
Doesn't hurt the
yeah.
unsubscribe.
Because I've been doing every day like we're supposed to. So I'll do that. I'll reach out to them and let them know that did you like, was it an accident, the unsubscribing, or like how
Maybe
should
not
I?
even bring attention to it.
Okay.
Maybe not even bring attention to it, just see how the conversation goes. I mean, first of all, you got to get them to answer the phone, right?
Yeah.
So when you get them on the phone, say, "Hey, I was just checking in on you. I know we talked a few days ago, and I didn't. I totally forgot to ask you. Like, when do you want me to check into you? Like, what information is valuable to you in this process?"
Hmm. Okay. Will do.
And then you can go, "Oh, by the way, I see that you unsubscribed." Because to continue to get any other emails, you're like, "Oh yeah, send me emails." And say, "Oh, you know, mom, my gosh, I'm in here looking at your profile and it looks like you unsubscribed."
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Perfect. Thanks.
you're so welcome. What else we got, Crystal?
Yeah, we got a comment from Rebecca. It's just saying she's a rock star as an ISA, but it's a different story calling her own leads. And my my take on that is when you're working for somebody else, you ain't got nothing to lose, right? So you're calling, you're doing different things, you're taking different risks, and it was working. Now this is your money, these are your leads. So the way we look at them and act upon them is going to be different. Because there's also that fear of loss or fear of, you know, we messing things up or what have you, because it's ours, not somebody else.
For me, I knew too much and I didn't
Mhm.
realize it because I was calling all of my own leads before I ventured into the training aspect and dialing live multiple different dashboards. And then I realized how easy it was from an ISA perspective because there's certain things that we can't talk about, right? We can't get into the weeds of certain addresses and certain things about the market. All we can do is get the information that we need. So I'm going to encourage you to practice your calls like you would calling for somebody else. It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. It was very difficult for me to step back because I knew too much about my own market. So they would ask a question, I would go way out in left field, like bleh, saying everything. Because all my phone calls as an ISA less than 3 minutes.
Mhm.
Maybe once in a while, 5 minutes, and then every blue moon, right? You get that person you can't get off the phone. You wasted 20 minutes of your life that you'll never get back. But
Yeah.
when it was my own leads, oh, heck, 5, 10, 15 minutes easy
Mm-hmm.
because it was much easier to have those longer in-depth conversations because We want to build ourselves up, right?
Yeah.
But as an ISA, our job is to build up the agent, not us, and have
Hmm.
that third party recommendation.
Yeah.
Now you're recommending yourself.
Yeah. And it can be very different. For sure.
Yes. So really be aware of the attempt of separating that for yourself when
Mhm.
you're making those phone calls, and try not to give too much information.
Mhm. Yeah. We have Harkran, some leads pick up, and then ones that never pick up the call.
Yep.
What do you do with those ones?
Keep calling.
Keep calling them.
Keep calling. And that's why I love the filters, because here's the thing, right? Don't think about it.
Hmm.
Seriously, don't think about it. If they're in the filter, try calling them.
Yeah.
Period. That's it.
And
I had to stop trying to figure it out. You
mhm.
know, in every webinar I get, I have this one lead that is in here every day and they've looked at 10,000 homes and they've never answered. I don't care. Like, I don't care if you've looked at one home. I don't care if you've never logged back in and haven't looked at a home in 20 days.
Mhm.
I don't care. If I
Mhm.
don't know where you are in the process, you get my 23 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And 23 seconds, if y'all haven't heard my kind of process, when I activate the dialer and I have people in my queue, I activate the dialer, I let it ring for 23 seconds. I watch the clock on the little ticker and I end the call and I go to the next. 23 seconds is approximately 4 rings. And now sometimes, I mean, we don't know how many times it's ringing on their end, right? But the beautiful thing is when you end that call before they can end it, you're going to create more callbacks because people are curious because they wanted the control to be able to stop the phone call.
Mhm.
But when you took that control away, it kind of piques their curiosity even more. So if you want your phone to ring, just activate that dialer and just keep going next, next, next. I promise you,
Yeah.
after about 10, 15 dials, you'll get a call back.
And I feel like, and we talked about this before, a lot of us will focus more so on that they're never answering with the less leads that we have.
Yeah.
Because we've only got so many to call, and they never answer, never answer, never answer. Meanwhile, once you get to the point where you've got 150 calls to make today, you're going to be thankful that some of them don't answer, right?
Yep.
It does, regardless of how many call attempts. It's like, okay, this is fast, and they're not going to answer.
Yep.
And then you're lucky they will answer that one time you tell yourself they're not going to. But yeah, I find that when we have less leads to reach out to, we start to focus on all the little fine details that are making us a little frustrated with the whole process of it.
Yeah.
Burgess says, I face the same situation. My strategy is I try one call, a last call, and I try one call, a last call, and she changed her mind after chatting at the end and wanted to come back in the CRM. So fixed her unsubscribe. So she never gave up one last time. So this is referring to the unsubscribe. So she did. So this is Burgess saying she did call somebody that unsubscribed and was able to resubscribe them. So that was great.
Yep.
Yep.
That's awesome. And as I said, we never know. We truly don't ever know why people do what they do.
Yep.
And then once they do it, I don't know that they can even really like retract it. Like,
yeah.
they're not going to go through the process to log in and retract it.
Yeah. Our friend is also saying he's got some that are just browsing and be buying in the next 10 months or so. So those are still decent leads.
Those are exciting because that's your pipeline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Properly organize them so you do not lose them, because I always say it's not about the conversion, it's the conversation, because these leads are in multiple dashboards and he who has the conversation has the power, because you know what it's going to take for them to purchase a home.
Yeah.
And you're already a step ahead. Don't lose the momentum.
Yeah.
And find out, like we were talking to Sherry, please, in every conversation, how often would you like me to check in? What would be of value to you in this process?
Yep.
And then even confirming, what times of day is best for me to call. And if you don't answer the phone when I call, how would you like me to handle that? Do you want me to follow up with a text? Do you want me to wait a few hours? Do you want me to wait a day? Like, when and how do you want me to communicate with you? People really respect that and they appreciate that, because you're showing that you care about the communication and how you're communicating.
And follow through on that. follow through on
Oh, yeah. Yes.
whatever they say. You know, I can't even remember, this lady used to call me all the time because my ex had a business, and it was like this little book that they put in doctor's offices and things like that. So I'd say, well, call in about 6 months. She'd almost to the day. It's almost to the day every time. And she would open up the conversation. I got a joke for you. So every time she called,
I
she'd
like
like, for a
that.
second, we'd have a quick like two second like introduction. And she's
Icebreaker.
calling, she's like, I got another joke for you. You ready for it? Right? Like that was the way. So every day, I imagine, or she must log which jokes she's already told who. But she would always have, you know, and it was her way of trying to get the person on the line to relax and laugh a little bit, right? So
I love
had the
it.
ice break.
So I
Yeah.
saw it
So
pop through. What do I mean by multiple dashboards? When people Google, they have options of where they're forcing their registration to. So yes, Agent Locator, that lead is exclusive to you, but that lead is not exclusive to giving their information out to everybody. So they will log in because they feel like that FOMO, right? Everybody suffers FOMO.
yeah.
So they feel like, well, your dashboard may not have certain homes for sale, but I'm going to go over here and see if they have more homes or different homes.
Yeah.
So they log in and they're getting emails from
different things.
agents.
Or they'll register in the other site. There's some websites that are not user friendly, right? So they go on there, they sign up, and they can't figure it out. So then they go find another site, right? So there's all different reasons why people do that.
Yep.
But yeah, that's how they end up in multiple dashboards. And yeah, sometimes they just
And
sit
that's
there
why
in other
having the conversation is so important, because
Yes.
now you know how to communicate with them. All right.
Mhm.
I saw there are a lot of things popping up there.
Yeah. When do you leave a message personally?
You know, that's all going to be according to how you want to work your dashboard. I look at people that I've never spoke to. The very first call, I just listen. I wait until it goes to voicemail to hear if there's a name on it, to hear, you know, just whatever information I can get from that. But I don't have time to listen to people's voicemails and leave a voicemail. 23 seconds next, 23 seconds next. I have better luck rolling through multiple dials and getting callbacks than I do waiting. Because some people have, like, I mean, if you're going to leave a voicemail, you're talking at least 3 minutes a lead versus 23 seconds. Absolutely on follow-ups, 100% on the nurtures and the touches. It could be good practice maybe on your 7th or 8th call. Hey, but just been trying to reach you about your home search. But I look at it as that's just giving them permission to unsubscribe, because now you've kind of played your hand.
That's it. Yeah.
They know who you are.
Yeah. I was going to say 5 to 6 call attempts, leave a message, but make it kind of anonymous. Like, hey, Crystal, been trying to get a hold of you. It's Gabe. Give me a call back.
Yes. Because then they're like, should I know this person?
Yeah.
Then they're like thinking about it.
Yeah. And then they may call you back, or the next time you call, they may likely be more likely to answer that call because they got to figure out who this is. Right. So
yeah. If you leave a hook, that's the best way to leave a voicemail.
Yes. So Burgess is saying, or whoever calls within the minute will have that 5 minutes, will have that lead. No.
So let's talk about the analogy, right? Let's talk about the analogy of a lead, right? There's no guarantee they're going to answer their phone just because it's been within the 5 minutes. I look at it as anybody that's on Google, they're really truly more than likely just browsing, and they're just looking, right? Because that's the number one objective or objection that we get all the time. I'm just looking. And, you know, the seasoned lead, everyone's just, I mean, you Google everything. Like, how many times do you Google something in a day? I mean, it's constant. So people are just used to doing it. And it's different today in 2024 than it was in 2014. You know, back in 2014, it was still kind of newish, where people were like, oh my God, like, I'm buying a house, I'm jumping online. Where now it's like, oh, I'm gonna be buying a house someday in the future, and I'm just wondering what's going on with the real estate market.
Yep. What their options are.
I have debunked the speed to lead. The only speed to lead that you need is on Zillow calls. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, yeah, if you can attempt that phone call within the first 5 minutes, but again, you don't know how many times, because I know, like, I'm obsessive, right? Like, if I'm searching for something, they're going to be registering on multiple sites within an hour. So
Yeah.
their
Trying to
phones can
find what
start
it
blowing
is,
up, right?
right? They're trying to find a specific
And you
listing.
don't know where you fall in that
Mhm.
process. At least when you're calling expireds, if you're there at 8 o'clock in the morning, like, you know that you're the one that's like, early bird
Yeah.
gets the worm, but you have no idea where you're falling in their call cycle of how many websites they've registered on.
Mhm.
So I say it's not the speed, it's the consistency
Mhm. And the
of
conversation.
attempts.
And the conversation, right?
Yeah, because the
It's
consistency is what's going to lead to the actual conversation. But if you
yeah.
just literally try to speed delete and then never dial again,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're decreasing your chances of that conversation.
But I find too, when, I always kind of say, if you have two people calling you and one person's just as the bare minimum, the standard, what you're looking for, that like really offers no value to you. They're just kind of took up time on the phone, where the next person actually engages and is trying to build a relationship, learn more about, see how they can help assist you. That's the person. Even if they call me 2 days later, that's the person I'm going to lean towards, not the one that just grabbed, what I'm looking for. Okay, I'll follow up with you in a couple months, and really did nothing. Nothing to make me feel confident in what they're going to offer me. And I get the same, like for me personally, like I'm going through a transition where I may be moving, and I had to remortgage, not remortgage, but just renew my mortgage. And there's so many people, like I have lack of confidence in when it comes to mortgage agents that work
You
for
know
the
too
bank.
much, Crystal. Is that the
But
problem?
it's for that works the bank, right? And I'll ask questions, and it's how they answer those, or it's like very limited as far as information, or like, let me get, like, it's like my confidence level just kind of goes like this, and I'm like, I don't know if you're like, because a lot of them will say, yeah, I specialize in this. They can't help you. Like this, when I first bought my house, one person was like, hey, yeah, I specialize that. I can do anything with you. Looks like you're gonna have to do this, and like, get, pay off some of your debt, and da, 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 da. And then I have another person who just like pulled all these strings, like and managed to get me a mortgage. Right? She didn't say she specializes in anything. So I feel like some of us, some people oversell themselves as far as capability just to get the person, and then actually lack those capabilities. And then some people are a little bit more humble, and offer more value while they're, just being their humble self in what they do, and that the knowledge is there, and they pass that knowledge and that confidence off to the person on the other end.
So important. What else we got?
That is probably it as far as questions, unless anyone else has more questions. Of course, Beverly.
Great topics
here.
today, guys.
Yeah.
Keep bringing it. Come on, keep bringing it. We still got some time left.
I'm trying to think of questions that people have that come up.
Well, while we're waiting, and maybe I can start talking and raise some questions.
Mhm.
So, when we were talking earlier, Crystal, about, okay, I have the service to provide, and this person has a home to sell, or they want to buy a home, right? And the
Mhm.
disconnection in between. Agent Locator is not just a lead option for you. It is a CRM. And the importance of knowing that you are in the database gathering business, that the more quality of leads that you are engaging and bringing into your agent locator, the more broader your business is going to become. So when you're really thinking about your message and the problem that you want to solve in your community, what is that problem, and what are you, or how are you putting yourself out there social media wise? What message are you portraying, and what problem are you solving? So when we recognize someone's pain, think about any ad that you see, and all the research I've done with online marketing. You've got to really speak to the pain. And come on now, we all scroll Facebook, we all scroll Instagram, and it ain't but every 2 friend posts, you got a sponsored ad.
Yeah.
And that sponsored ad is very targeted to what you have been searching online. Start paying attention to what's showing up in your feed and how they're talking to you. And notice what grabs your attention. How can you grab attention of someone that's thinking about selling their house? What is the pain that they are going through right now and the excuses that they are making on why they don't want to sell their house right now, or vice versa? I don't want to buy a house right now. What is keeping them awake at night? And how can you solve that problem and eliminate their pain? So your message and how you put yourself out there is also going to draw leads to you. You have all of the tools right there. You can have your evaluation forms and you can do all of this on your own and really get out there in your community and start talking about your value. And the easiest way for me is, we learn the most when we start taking action, because sometimes we don't really truly understand what exactly our message is. I'm a very big picture thinker. Like I'll think 10 years down the road, and I have to start to like peel back the layers of the onion to say, okay, if I'm picturing 10 years down the road, who do I have to become to be that person? Because that person 10 years from now is not the person sitting here right now. So what do I have to do, and what steps do I have to make to become that person? Who is that person down the road? So when you're looking at, okay, let's just say I want to do 80 transactions in a year. Who is that person? What do your days look like? What does your time look like? And start acting as if, because that person is doing 80 transactions in a year is not the same person as doing 2 or 3. It's not the same person as doing 20. The person doing 400 transactions a year is not the same person as doing 80 transactions in a year. What are those people doing? What is different? Who have they become? And what is your message? Don't just let Agent Locator try to give you your entire book of business. What other creative ways can you reach your community for them to know that you are an option? And it's kind of like when we post a Facebook ad, and I'm sure you all know this, but if you post a Facebook ad and you have a link in there that directs you out of Facebook ain't showing that to nobody because they want to keep you in Facebook. But what happens? We're like this. 10 minutes later, like, nobody freaking liked it yet. Nobody liked it. 2 hours later, oh my God, I only got 2 likes. Wow, I must suck, right? So it is fact proven that only 10% of the things that you put on social media get seen. That's it. So if you have 1,000 friends, there ain't many people seeing it.
No, there isn't. Because you can go through your friends list and say, I got all these friends, but how come it's always the same people liking my stuff? Right? They're all not seeing it. Or I'll go on my Facebook and be like, what if this person like unfriended me? I haven't seen any of their stuff in a long time, right? And then you go, it's like, no, you're still friends. And there's a whole bunch of recent posts that they've done, but it was never brought to my attention in my feed.
Yep. All right, Burgess. What message should I I'm thinking send through in bulk to alert. I personally would do a video. I am in love with ChatGPT and I am in love with my teleprompter. You can put that exact wording into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, well, tell ChatGPT that you are what would it be? You are a master script writer for online video content that goes viral. Could you please write me a video script for a campaign that I'm launching about, and give me 5 videos that I can talk about this, and this. And then get a teleprompter on your phone and read the script. And that's your video. And what's beautiful about it is it's in writing. You can use it. You can use it as an email, and you can use it in your video. You can post the video on social media. You can use it, and then you can break it apart and even make it a text message.
Yeah.
So just be careful how you use ChatGPT though, because you really want to be able to say, hey, you are a master. You are like the best of the best script writer.
Yeah. And be very specific about what you're looking for, or otherwise you're going to get a generalized response. So the more you tell chat.
Even a step further is your favorite star or your favorite communicator. You can say, like, for me, it's like Tony Robbins or Gabby Bernstein, right? Like, write my content in the eyes of this person. And that way that can kind of mirror your personality also. So really be specific with ChatGPT, but man, utilize it. And I have just learned teleprompter, and it's changed my life on videos because it keeps me like focused, because I'll start talking and then I'm like, oh, squirrel. And then my videos become way too long. And then I'm like, oh, then I go back and like edit them. Yeah.
Come back, you just start rambling about whatever. You're like, oh, okay, well, that went that way.
Yeah, I would do that and use it as multiple, right? Like do the video, do an email, break it up into text messaging, and just take that one message and break it up and just make it evergreen.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm doing a lot of homework right now on all the social media stuff to launch things, but content, repurposing your content. If you look at all of the big, the word just went right out of my head. What do you call them whenever they're the people on Instagram that?
Influencers.
Yes. When you look at a lot of the influencers, study their feeds. You're going to see a lot of reposting. So take your content, especially, man, if you're doing TikTok or you're doing Reels, take it at CapCut. If you don't know what CapCut is, oh my God. So CapCut, you can create all your video content in CapCut. Don't put the music to it there. Don't put the voiceovers to it there. Keep it in one broke up video, and you can use it with different music. You can use it with different voiceovers. You can use it in multiple forms of repurposing. Because I know for myself, it's fun in the creation, right? But we can really get lost in it, and it prevents us from taking action on the money-making activities. But really utilizing content like that, making it evergreen, making it more purposeful.
It's just delegating and keeping a schedule to yourself of, this is when I'm going to do this. This is my content creation time, right? So it's part of your business building to keep the money making happening. You gotta keep it.
And look at what's trending in your community. Like, what are people asking? Go into your Facebook groups. I mean, God, people, come on. You can go into your community Facebook group and type in real estate and see what questions people are asking. And that alone can be a message that you can use, because, you know, it's like in our community boards, right? It's like you'll have one person ask a question. It's like, woo.
Everyone's an expert.
So much content. Everybody's an expert. Yeah. Or you get more people asking more questions. And sometimes we don't have to be completely creative. Sometimes it's all right there for us. We just need to know where to look for it. But just remember that we can search groups based on keywords.
Finding different things, or even like if you are a door knocker, like target your own neighborhood first. Right, that can build some confidence with those in the neighborhood, because you actually have a foot in the, I guess, the overall value of the homes, because whatever you list their house for is going to affect your investment, right? So that builds some confidence with some of those sellers, is that you're going to get them the highest and best price because it's affecting your own investment in that neighborhood as well.
Absolutely. But yeah, just think value proposition. And I know we opened up today, just really look into yourself and see if you're making your own excuses, or if you're creating your own distractions. Because there are people that are successful at this, and you can absolutely be one of them. Don't overthink it and go with it. No questions. Nobody comment it. Come on now.
Yep. And I think even kind of going, I did an exercise with another, I can't even remember what it was. It's like for entrepreneurial kind of stuff. And it was kind of finding and making time for your business type thing. Is sitting back and kind of goes into the vision of, you know, where do you want to be in 5 years from now? What's that going to take? What does my schedule look like when I'm that person? And how am I going to achieve that? Is actually making a little calendar and kind of laying out, okay, Monday mornings from the, you know, let's say 6 to 8, I'm exercising. That's my personal block. And then from, you know, 10 to 12, I'm working on social content. And from, you know, 12 to 4 is maybe that's my showing block or any additional loose ends, right? So it's really allocating in your calendar, these are specific times, and I have to hold myself accountable to these things in order to get to where I want to be. And then anything that has to do with your lead conversion time, we say, you know, one rule of thumb is that's the no-go zone. You know, we're trying to deter any showings or anything like that. We try to recommend or encourage, you know, oh, you know, I have another appointment at that time. How does 2 o'clock sound instead? Right. So it's trying our best to not interfere with our lead converting times that we are to build our business.
Well, and especially through the roller coaster, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
whenever you do work your leads and you create the business, then you're working the business, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to create the roller coaster of working the business and then having to go back and start all over again.
Going good. Yeah. It's
You want
everything's just
to
going.
keep the consistency so
And
that
then
you,
you
'cause
add
the pipeline is the most
attitude.
valuable thing that you can ever have
Mm-hmm.
in your business, especially during market shifts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's
It's
picking up. Like you guys look, like if you go, well, you can go on any of your boards. Like I've been watching my market, like every day there is a ton of listings going up, right? So the market is moving. When you say no one, if you're looking at your system saying no one's moving, everyone's just like, that's not the fact. Like there won't be all these listings everywhere happening, all these transactions actually happening. People are moving. It's just not at that rapid 2021 rate where everything was just flying off the shelf and things were happening so quickly. We couldn't keep up. Right.
we got spoiled. That's all that
We
was.
did. We did. And you know what? There is it, and you know, in that time too, if you were a productive agent, I had an agent, like it was like the year after she decided to hang up her license because she's like, I sold the most amount of, like, you know, the most number of ands I've ever done. But when you look at the cost or the value and your time spent, she made the least amount based on her hourly kind of wage because everything was going in multiples. So she'd have one buyer that took, you know, so many showings and offers to actually get a deal to happen. Whereas in markets like this, you're not spending as much time in those situations as well. So it's, yeah, it's, you got to kind of take it as it comes, right? And look at your blessings, how they are. The positives, the ultimate positive to any negative you're looking at. What's the ultimate opposite of that?
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Right. That is probably it. I don't think there's any more questions.
And we covered everything.
I think so. I think so.
I think that was the first time we've had the unsubscribe objection kind of come up.
Yeah, it doesn't typically happen too often, that's for sure. But yeah, it's always just calling them. Just call them. Then like you don't know that they unsubscribe. You call them like no differently than you would any other lead, right? People unsubscribe. We go through our email list. Like I know I do. I have to do it soon and just go unsubscribe, unsubscribe, unsubscribe because you end up subscribing to things half the time you didn't even realize you subscribed to. And then you just, you know, you do a cleanup, and sometimes during that cleanup, you accidentally unsubscribe from things that you didn't know were connected to something else, right? So just call them. That's all. You just pretend like you don't know that they've unsubscribed, or you know, or after they, you know, as the conversation goes, oh, it looks like you unsubscribed.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's why, you know, usually it's people. That's why I'd asked Sherry if she had gone through the process of talking to them to set it up personally for them, or if it was just on automation, because I have found that when it's on automation, people don't realize they're looking at what meets their expectations, but then that everyone's looking for a deal.
Mhm.
So they'll drop in and look for and they'll look at the cheapest home in that community, and it shifts the algorithm of what's getting emailed to them in their price range. Or they're like, oh my God, look at this like multi-million-dollar home, right? Like, whoa,
Yeah.
look at that, because it's like a car wreck. You just can't not
Yeah.
look.
Yeah.
And it messes up. So what's getting emailed to them may not be spot on until we have that conversation. And people do
Mhm.
unsubscribe because they think you're sending them the wrong houses.
Yeah. You didn't listen to them. That is common though. I've seen some site where you've had people have had a conversation with somebody. I can see the note and they didn't update the search. Like, well,
Yeah.
why? Or they'll say, well, I set them up on here, I said, like somewhere else on their MLS. I was like, well, but why? They're getting listings from here. So now you're sending them two emails, one through a system which you can't see what they're doing, and one that's sending them completely incorrect properties.
Okay, Sherry said, yeah, that's
Right.
exactly what happened. And the one thing that I don't encourage, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. It all depends on your bandwidth. Is I don't take the time to create searches for anybody until I have conversations with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing, right? You have people that are real estate agents that don't have the MLS data and they're in your site, and you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
create it for them and give them, something that you shouldn't be giving them, or you don't want to be creating it for someone that their mom's a real estate agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do not, if I don't, you don't qualify for time on my calendar until I have a conversation with you.
Mm-hmm.
Once I have a conversation with you, then I will go in and I will, get personal and specific, but I don't
Yeah.
take the time for anybody until I have a conversation, because, if you're scaling your business may be at one point right now where you do have that time. However, it's not something that you're going to be able to carry on as you're scaling and growing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. Unless you want to sit there some days for hours cleaning everything up.
Yep.
Some people do. They like to go into their whole cleanup and they go turn back searches back on or ramp them back up. Or if they notice they haven't looked, they just kind of adjust the search. If they're an old lead from like 5 years ago, okay, well, prices have obviously shifted. Let's just bump this up an extra 500. That sort of get them trying to look at the properties again, right? But you have to have dated extra time. Let's say you're on it, you're spending the time to do that, and those are for if you have an extensive database of dormant leads. Dormant. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Perfect.
This leads us to April. How?
I have no idea. It's just gonna post in here.
We're 4 months
Say,
in.
I'm just gonna post in the chat here. So kind of similar to how Sherry came on, we're always looking for a live dial guest so that Beverly can jump into your system, talk to you specifically about what you're encountering. Sometimes makes calls, just depends on your database. But we do this every couple of months, and we're always looking for someone. Sign up. Sign up. Sign up or save the link. Save the link because it is only like 2 per month, right? So, but yeah. So, thank you, Beverly, and thank you, everyone.
Have a great rest of the month, and I'll see you in
You as
April.
well. Sounds good. Awesome.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye.